I am Komal Kapoor, faculty in the area of international business and marketing. And today we will be discussing a very important aspect of international trade, which are the theories on which international trade is based upon. So, whatever we are seeing today in terms of globalization, in terms of world connected, supply chain, it is not what it used to be. There are certain theories and economists which have given this world the evolution of what we see today. So let us begin the journey today of international trade concepts and models which have helped in understanding how the world trade has moved. The number one theory is based on mercantilism. The world is derived from merchant or dealing with merchandise. And that is why the overview is more based on the focus on accumulating wealth through exports. All the developed nations, decades or maybe centuries back in 17th or 18th century, focused more on their own development with respect to exporting whatever they were producing at a higher price to other nations, thereby creating wealth for themselves. So, all the European countries, USA, and even England, they formed colonies and they were focusing on creating wealth for themselves by acquiring raw material from their own colonies at a very throwaway prices and making the finished goods and then selling them to the entire world, thereby developing themselves and creating wealth for themselves. So, this happened between the 16th and 18th century when the entire world was shifting towards development and industrial revolution was taking place. And that time the government control was very strong. So government intervention with respect to how to strengthen national wealth and all kind of support was being given with the help that all the merchants of these countries, they exported to other nations, earned money from them or the foreign reserves, and ultimately created wealth for their own self. So, mercantilism has a historical context to it because the trade was taking place between so many countries, whether they were run by the European traders or maybe they were not that developed to work on their own. And that is why there was a rise of nation states. So European countries adopted mercantilism to build economic power, which we saw, and that is why the other countries are really very far behind than the development of Europe, because that began 3-4 centuries before. Colonial dependence, because the colonies which they were governing, the countries where they had hold, they were giving them the raw material supply, and then the finished goods were being created which were then sold all over the world to earn reserves in terms of either metals, precious metals, or maybe some kind of other currency which was adopted and used then. And nations competed for wealth by maintaining a trade surplus, and all the European countries focused on this only. So, exploitation of all the colonies with respect to the raw material, exploitation of the world in terms of selling to them and acquiring a lot of reserves and money supply from them, and then building their own wealth was the only focus in mercantilism, historical context, which was the first core theory of international trade. Moving ahead, we have the classical trade theories, which came into picture around say 19th century, where a lot of other things came into picture and the world was becoming a different place. So, emergence of classical theories took place in the 18th and 19th century, where economists replaced the government control with market-driven trade. And that is where the market forces came into picture. The key contributors were Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and also Heckscher Ohlin, and they all gave a very different perspectives to the classical trade theories, and that is how the world has evolved or may have changed to what kind of globalization and trade that we are seeing today. So, trade efficiency was the main objective that time, not really based on the creation of wealth or who was doing what. More analysis was done with respect to which country performs well, which country is doing what kind of business, and how efficiency can become a major contributor of determining the kind of world trade which will take place. So, countries benefited by specializing in the goods they produced best and trading efficiently with the entire world. Let us first understand what was the Adam Smith's absolute advantage theory, which he has given in his very famous book, Wealth of Nations, published in 1776. So he opposed mercantilism straight on the face and said that is not the way business should be done. That is the way when only one set of nations will flourish. This will not really add value to all the possible nations which are working in the world. So the key idea was nations should produce and trade goods by manufacturing those products which they manufacture most efficiently, because that is how they are able to make those goods with lesser resources and in better quality, and the entire world should buy from them. So this was the foundation of free trade because it encouraged unrestricted trade and specialization, which the world is known for today. So Adam Smith laid the foundation for absolute advantage international trade theory, that whatever is the absolute advantage of one nation in producing a particular item better than and more efficiently than others, that is the one that they should really work and produce. After Adam Smith, we saw some further revisions in the entire theory, which was the David Ricardo's comparative advantage theory of international trade. So Ricardo was of a completely different view, and he made the absolute advantage theory on a next level, on a more advanced level, in his book Principles of Political Economy and Taxation, published in 1817. So what Ricardo said, and which was over and above the absolute advantage theory, was trade benefits nations even if one produces everything less efficiently. So his concept was more of comparative advantage. That is, whatever one can produce with less opportunity cost, that should be produced by one nation. So if in the decision between two products, say A and B, where A is an agriculture product and B is a textile product, so the country which is able to make food grains by sacrificing less of clothing is the one which should do that work better and with a higher productivity, and hence they both should trade between each other with those goods differently. So the other country where textile is more, food grain is less, and they have to sacrifice less food grain to more produce textile, that country should produce textile more and trade with others. So nations specialize where they have the lowest opportunity cost of sacrificing the other commodity, which, if not possible, should not lead to the evaluation going in the wrong direction, and the countries should trade among each other based on whatever they do better by not sacrificing the other quantities that much. The third aspect of the international trade theory, which further gives another perspective, another view to how international trade was progressing, was given by Heckscher Ohlin. So there are two people, two economists, who came together and developed the theory of what we call as factor endowment theory of international trade, given by these two economists. So this was further addition to the earlier theories, where the key idea was trade patterns depend on a country's factor endowments, and the country should produce those kind of products which and where the factors are available in large quantities and in abundance, and it costs really low by using that factor and then producing and selling to the world whatever they want to. So if a particular country has very high labor factor in abundance, they should use more of labor intensive technologies. In countries where capital and technology and the latest innovations are in abundance, because that is the most important factor that they have, those countries should produce more of technological products. Similarly, beyond comparative advantage, they talk about why certain countries dominate the specific industries. And this was given by Elie Heckscher and Bertil Ohlin in the early 20th century. And what we see today is a combination of Heckscher-Ohlin theory, comparative advantage theory, and leading to the right kind of analysis of that each country is following a combination of these theories, and the global trade is flourishing based on few countries adopting an absolute advantage model, few countries are adopting comparative advantage model of international trade, where others are focusing more on factor endowment like China and India, where labor is in abundance, and that is why it makes sense in using this factor endowment strategy better and make those products at a very low cost and then sell to the entire world. So this particular concept under the international business paper in MIB first semester is very crucial to understand, and on the basis of this international trade theory models and understanding, gradually other IB understanding can be built and the students can enhance their knowledge with respect to how they want to further accelerate their understanding of the IB subject.